Thanks, Ashley. New this morning, the Ontario County Sheriff has gone back to NASCAR driver Tony Stewart to interview him for a second time. Stewart hit and killed another driver who was walking on a track during a dirt race in upstate New York. Police say there is no evidence of criminal intent. But what type of liability could Stewart face? Here to talk about the case, local attorney and former host of Courts and Sports, John Phillips. Welcome back to the morning show.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. I think it's important to remember that the facts are what happens to be important here, because speculation by fans, speculation by the media can incorrectly frame the matter.
You can see it all over YouTube. There's so many new scientists saying, you know, they heard the revs at 6,000 RPMs or whatever it is. It's crazy out there on the internet.
It still begs the question, homicide or accident? What are the ramifications of each?
From the criminal side, it's probably a manslaughter type, and under New York law, he could spend up to 15 years in jail. I don't think they're going to get there. They've just got to show recklessness, but this isn't one where he had the earpiece and was communicating that we're going to have recorded conversations. It wasn't so technically advanced. There's going to be different camera angles, so it's going to be hard to ever prove.
Do you think this is going to be more of a civil case?
I think very likely, if the families, they've got a year to press for a wrongful death case.
How about the ripple effects for both Tony Stewart and for NASCAR, because they stand to be major? They
do. When I first heard yesterday that Tony Stewart was debating racing, I was like, oh my God, that's the worst decision you could possibly make right now. Let this family heal. I've sat in that room with a family who just lost somebody, and they're devastated. And you're going to see the ripple effect all the way through Tony's businesses. He is a $100 million man. He owns a lot of different racing circuits and everything else.
Let me get back to the fact that it is the facts that are important here. The fact of the matter is that Tony Stewart has a reputation for being brash, being an aggressive driver. Is that going to turn some sentiment against him?
I think so. I think that's the biggest issue, is people already have this thing about Tony that he has a chip in the shoulder. But if I rear-ended you, you'd be angry. But I'd be sorry. I'd be like, hey. And so you can't really say that he's hot-headed. Because usually the person that causes the wreck's like, oops.
Yeah.
But, you ask where a guy like Kevin Ward learns this. We all have seen the scene where Tony Stewart throws his helmet, gets out in the middle of the street and throws his helmet at another vehicle. It happened also yesterday, Saturday, in a different race. These guys got to stay in the vehicle. That's the first thing they teach.
And I don't want to infer anything here, but the fact of the matter is the investigators and the sheriffs may find that Kevin Ward is partly culpable, because even when you go to a theme park and you're in those go-karts, the first thing they tell you is, if you're hit by another vehicle or there's an accident, stay in your car till somebody gets to you.
That's exactly right. And that's the first thing they say. But I hope this goes into more safety measures for these drivers. They're not as safe as they are in the NASCAR cars, because it's just such a underfunded circuit. We don't know if this guy came out, he had a concussion from hitting the wall because his head's not secured. You don't know what the situation is. He should have stayed in the car. But what did Tony Stewart do under caution that would have contributed to him getting killed is the question.
Realistic to ask, or state rather, that we may never really know what happened?
I doubt we will. They might pitch it in front of a grand jury, and they'll get to know, at least a little bit of everything. But there's no way with how undercovered this race was from a technological standpoint that we'll ever know.
And the fact of the matter is that the track was dark. Ward was wearing a dark suit. I know there's speculation that Tony Stewart revved his engine, but these are all things to be vetted throughout the course of the investigation.
Absolutely.
John Phillips, always a pleasure.
Great to see you.
Thank you very much. It is 7:19. Stace.